record. Welcome to Expert Views on ADR EVA, a podcast about simplifying the traditional African method of settling disputes or the appropriate dispute resolution ADR in a bid to attract more users to settle their disputes or conflicts with mediation, ombuds, arbitration, collaborative law, restorative justice, early dispute resolution, negotiation, conciliation, and of course, early neutral evaluation. My name is DrChinweEgbunike, the Marketing Liaison on Day 2024 American Bar Association, Dispute Resolution, and the host of Expert Views on ADR EVA video podcast. I am excited to welcome Charity Burke to the EVA show. She is the Executive Director of the Oakland Mediation Center. She has created several conflict resolution and advanced mediation training programs for the general public, volunteers at OMC, and community members involved in special education. She wears many hats, so I've left the link to her profile below. Welcome to the show, Charity.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's such an honor to have you on the show. So without further ado, the first question is, what is mediation and its role in conflict resolution?
So mediation is an opportunity for a third-party neutral to help guide two or more parties through a process where they are empowered to explore solutions, share information, and come up with options that are kind of custom made for their individual situation and hopefully reach a resolution. And if not, at least do some relationship building.
Okay, thank you so very much. So can you elaborate on the background and purpose of the OMC Center, the Oakland Mediation Center, and how it operates?
Yes, so the Oakland Mediation Center is one of 16 community dispute resolution centers across the state of Michigan, and we are partially funded through the Michigan State Court Administrative Office. So we started up over 33 years ago at the recommendation of the Oakland County Bar Association.
Oh, wow.
We provide facilitative mediation services to Oakland County. We support the circuit, family and probate courts, district courts, schools, people self-refer, anything I like to say from the courtroom to the boardroom to the family room to the playground. If there's a dispute, we can help.
Oh, okay. So I'm interested in knowing. Okay, so before that, what kind of programs do the center offer or provide to the general public?
Well, we have a mediation services department as well as education services where we provide training for people who want to be mediators and advanced training for mediators, as well as communication and conflict management trainings for people who maybe don't want to be mediators but want to increase the communication and conflict management skills. And in 2018, we also launched a low-cost legal services department for people who are unable to receive legal aid but unable to afford traditional private attorneys at the current rates that they are charging.
Okay, thank you so very much. So I'm interested in knowing why the center developed the mental health and mediation for the state of Michigan.
Great question. So this has been a program that's been being developed in the works for over 20 years in the state of Michigan. Yeah. We have our former state court administrator, Judge Milt Mack, has been working on this for 20 plus years. And in 2019, the state of Michigan passed some legislation indicating that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services would fund a program for free mediation for clients receiving mental health services from a community mental health or PIHP provider. And what the legislation states is that if a client receiving mental health services feels that they're having a dispute with their provider, they're unhappy about something, they can request a mediation, and the community mental health provider it's mandatory for them to participate. So there are all kinds of things that can be mediated under this legislation. They don't lose any of their due process rights. The mediation can go in parallel with everything else. but they cannot mediate medical necessity because that's up to the doctor.
Oh, okay. Okay, so do you have an idea how many cases have been settled via the mental health mediation?
We have an 80% settlement rate with this program, which is
Oh,
very exciting. So
amazing.
it was slow going when it first launched because the way the legislation is interpreted by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, CMHs can't refer cases. Clients have to self-refer, or their advocate, if they have a guardian, can refer those cases. And so trying to educate the CMH staff and the public about the advantages of this program, get the word out that the program exists. So it's slowly been ramping up over the last few years.
Okay.
And I'm just so proud to say that we have an 80% settlement rate.
Oh, okay. Thank you so very much. So, you mentioned special education. So, to what extent can mediation be used in special education?
So we also have a program that we are a subcontractor for. It's a statewide program for the Michigan Special Education Mediation Program that is funded by the Office of Special Education. So we're one of 16 providers. We facilitate IEP, individualized education plans, MDRs, manifestation determination reviews, and we mediate disputes if there are disputes between families and the school about a child age birth to 26 and their individualized education plan, or we can mediate disputes between staff members because sometimes special education staff and general ed staff are not on the same page. If a family has filed a state complaint or asked for a due process hearing, those cases are also sent to mediation to try and get settled between the district and the family. And it's a beautiful tool.
Oh, okay. Thank you so very much. So, what is peer mediation?
Peer mediation is one of our youth mediation programs, and it is such a rewarding program. So what we do is we go into schools, kindergarten through 12th grade, and we train the staff. It's a completely sustainable, self-sustainable program. So we train schools and then we walk away and they can self-sustain on their own. So there's no ongoing costs. But we train the staff and the students for the students to be mediators and mediate disputes amongst the other students. So you could have a fifth grader mediating a dispute that happened on the playground.
Oh, wow.
Let me tell you, there is nothing more
Awesome.
rewarding than hearing a third grader say, "So what I hear you saying is," it's
Oh,
so
my
rewarding.
God.
And these are life skills that these children carry on with them all throughout school and for the rest of their lives.
Oh, God. Oh, that's amazing. So what are the potential benefits of the peer mediation programs?
Well, for one, children learn a valuable life skill. We have had, this program's been in existence for well over 20 years. And as I said, it's self-sustainable. So
Yeah.
children can learn to communicate, they learn communication skills, and they are empowered to settle disputes amongst themselves. It's a more holistic approach rather than just having a punitive approach and having an adult intervene and say, you know, you need to go sit on the bench for
Yeah.
timeout. So because those situations usually keep rearing their ugly head, but if you can get students sitting down and mediating amongst each other and really having good dialogue, then they get to the root cause of the issues and they begin to talk to each other and settle their own disputes on their own, which only benefits them for the rest of their lives.
Oh, okay. So there's no selection process, and you could get students from kindergarten, secondary school upwards.
Well, that's up to the schools to decide. So they ask the students who's interested in doing this.
Oh,
And then
okay.
they interview those students and they decide who they think would be a good fit. And it's not always the straight A, you know, student that, you know, is going to be valedictorian. I mean, sometimes it is, but sometimes there's students that have influence or are, you know, particularly good with connecting with other students and have influence. So they try to mix it up and get students from all different social groups.
Okay.
It's diverse.
Okay, thank you. So, can it be used to tackle bullying? That's a mediation.
No, that's not an appropriate tool for bullying. So bullying is actually considered to be on the domestic violence spectrum. It's a form of domestic violence because there's a power and control dynamic. And so it wouldn't be appropriate to use peer mediation because it could open up the victim of bullying to being re-victimized.
Okay.
But we do have bullying programs like the Alveus Bullying Prevention Program. There are other bullying programs that could address that.
Yeah, but not peer mediation.
It's not an appropriate tool to address bullying.
Bullying. Okay. So how has mediation enhanced access to justice in Oakland, in the US?
It has really opened up access to justice for people who normally wouldn't feel like they had a voice at the table, people who maybe can't afford representation, people that are in need of having a third-party neutral balance the power at the table. A lot of times in conflicts, for example, family conflicts, even civil matters, there can be an imbalance of power. And so it allows people to craft solutions that are tailored to them. And so you don't have as many frequent flyers going through the system, because we do an annual compliance study. And what we found is for domestic matters, there's a 98% compliance rate. And for civil matters, there's a 75 to 80% compliance rate. And so as opposed to traditional court processes have our state court administrative office at about a 50% compliance rate, because when you have a hand in crafting what your agreement's going to look like, you tend to buy into it and then you tend to stick to it. And so it really enables people to have a voice and come up with a solution that best fits them, instead of having someone else tell them what they're going to do and maybe that doesn't work for them.
Oh, okay, thank you. So carry on, sorry.
And I was going to say, with the community dispute resolution centers, it's low cost, and so it's affordable for everyone.
Okay.
We don't do means testing. And if parties are indigent, if they're receiving food stamps, state aid, we waive the fees and we do the mediations for free for those individuals. And so from an access to justice standpoint, there truly is a spot for every person in the community to have access to this service, because cost is not a barrier. And we provide mediation services in person, over the phone, via Zoom. So there's also no transportation barriers anymore either.
Okay, so how much does the mediation cost?
It really depends. It varies from center to center and case type. So we have one of the larger centers. We did over 10,400 cases last year. Some of the smaller centers in more of the rural areas have a smaller caseload. It really depends. So for a simple district court case, it could be anywhere from $35 to $75, depending on the nature of the case. For a complex probate case or divorce, there's typically a $60 administrative fee, and then it's $100 an hour, with the first 3 hours due up front. But that's for more complex cases. But again, if people are indigent and having financial struggles, we waive those fees, and those fees are significantly lower than the private attorneys and mediators in the area.
Oh, okay. Thank you so very much. So how safe and confidential are practitioners' data?
So we have a database that is provided to us by the state of Michigan, where we keep a lot of information as far as training that our practitioners are, because we are on a volunteer basis. So our mediators volunteer their time to give back to the community. And so there's all kinds of security layered into that database, as well as for the individual mediator files. We have an IT company that has several security layers on our server, and then we keep hard copy files locked in our office, and one staff person as well as leadership team have access to that information. And as soon as a person is no longer with us, we do shred any information that is no longer appropriate for the center to have.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So how inclusive and diverse is the center?
We are more diverse and inclusive every day. When I started with the center back in 1997 as an intern, probably 90% of our volunteers were white Jewish females over the age of 60, because our executive director at the time was ramping up our volunteer pool, and she was pulling in all of her friends, and that was her community. Over the last 8 years, we have worked very hard to diversify our roster, and I'm proud to say that we have bilingual mediators on our roster now, and it's very diverse. So we have worked very hard. In Oakland County, we have 82 languages in Oakland County alone. So we want the center mediators to be reflective of the community that we serve. So we have people from all walks of life. 34% of our mediators are attorneys that give back, and the rest are volunteers from other areas of the community that give back from all different walks of life, whether they be doctors, nurses, former educators, homemakers, business people, all different backgrounds.
So the languages, 28 languages, do you have interpreters?
We don't have, well, we have a mediator that is bilingual. But typically when we give people the option to choose an interpreter that they would like if they need one. A lot of times people will bring in a family member, but the courts also provide interpreters. If it's a court-ordered mediation, we can request an interpreter to come in and help with that.
Okay. Thank you so very much. I think, did you face any challenges, or the center itself, did they face any significant challenges during the establishment of the center?
Well, I mean, it was slow going at the start. It was started over 33 years ago. So at that time, mediation was considered, there was mediation and then there was what they called Michigan mediation. And so at the time, mediation was considered like the latest fad, and people weren't really thinking that it was going to stick around and nothing was going to become of it. But it's slowly grown and shown the strength and the value in the court system. So I would say that was probably our biggest challenge, was getting people to buy into the process and see the value and understand that, no, this is a really empowering tool and it's not just a passing fancy.
So how about, because one of my research I conducted in 2021 highlighted the fact that lawyers are yet to embrace ADR. So I want what do you think? Have the lawyers come around to embracing ADR?
I think it depends on the attorney, and it's individually based. I would say that more attorneys are embracing it now. We have a number of attorneys that take our training classes to become mediators and embrace ADR. I think there are still some people that are stuck in ways that have been done in the past. And that's unfortunate. But as new attorneys come through and as seasoned attorneys see the value of mediation, I think it's opening everyone's eyes to the value that it has for their client. And I think what I'm seeing in Oakland is more and more attorneys are saying, hey, we've got this tool available, this mediation tool, instead of having the judge tell you what you're going to do with your child in regards to soccer practice, why don't we use this tool and you can make that decision for your child yourself? And they're the hero, right? Because they're helping their client and giving their client a voice. So from my perspective, it's gotten much better, particularly over the last 10 to 15 years.
Wow, awesome. So how can practitioners register with the center to start mediating or train with the center?
We are growing our caseload leaps and bounds. We have quadrupled our caseload compared to what it was in 2019, which is fantastic, but we are always looking for volunteers. So to be a volunteer at a community dispute resolution center in the state of Michigan, you have to go through a mediation training that's been approved by the state court administrative office, which we do provide. Once you've gone through that training, if you're an attorney or you have a master's degree in dispute resolution, you need to do what we call practical experience, where you observe 2 cases and you co-mediate with a seasoned mediator. If you don't have one of those degrees, then you have to observe and co-mediate for over 40 hours, a total of 40 hours before you're eligible to mediate the more complex court-referred cases. You could do small claims and landlord-tenant cases, but some of the more complex cases, you have to have that experience. To be on our roster, you need to go through those things, and then you have an interview with our volunteer services supervisor to make sure that we're philosophically aligned. The State Court Administrative Office requires that we follow the facilitative model of mediation. There's several different models, as you may know. And if we feel that we're aligned, then we add you to our temporary roster, have you co-mediate with a seasoned mediator so that we're observing you, making sure that you're philosophically aligned. And you're also trying us out, because the most valuable thing you have as a volunteer is your time. So we want to make sure that you feel like giving back to the community we serve is a good use of your time. If you do well and you're interested in joining us permanently, we add you to our permanent roster. If not, then we have a different conversation on how we can move forward as friends in a different way.
Okay. Thank you so very much for your insights and perspective and the learning you shared with us. I believe that potential users would embrace all you have stated on the benefits of mediation, unfair OMC, and of course opt for mediation and walk into the center as well to mediate their cases whenever the need arises. I mean, you've done an incredible job with the state of Michigan as well. So kudos, well done.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such an honor to be on this show. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. All right, cheers. So have a lovely day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.